Hello, thanks for joining me today on my channel, and this is Discovering My Dividends. And this is a brand new channel about, of course, dividend stocks. So, what is a dividend stock? Well, essentially, that's the first question we want to dive into. But first, you maybe want to know, what is a dividend? They kind of go hand in hand, but let's take a look at it. All right, so I'm not a professional, I'm not an advisor, so anything you hear on here is not advice per se, but I've been investing in the stock market for roughly about 10 years, and dividend stocks have kind of become my preferred way. I originally started out wanting to be a day trader. I got caught in all the hype and everything, but I didn't have the money to be a day trader based on what I researched, and I definitely didn't have the time. And I probably didn't have the skill, especially when I started, to be a day trader. And now I really don't have the desire to spend all day staring at a screen. So dividend stocks kind of fall into more about where I'm at in life, but also kind of maybe what my abilities or desires are going forward. All right, so a dividend stock is essentially going to be if you buy a stock or a share of a company, and that company has decided they're going to pay out to the owners of shares and stocks. So essentially you own part of that company, and they allot a certain amount of cash to pay a dividend. Now that dividend is then going to go to everybody who owns a share or a stock. Now it gets a little bit more complicated than that, but essentially if you buy a share or a stock, they're going to pay you whatever your percentage is. So if they have 10 million shares, you're going to get 1 in 10 million if you have one share. So depending on how many shares you have, how much they're paying out, and how many shares there are altogether. Now, a dividend itself, like I said, is a percentage of what it's paying out, and typically is going to be a yield. But say you bought a share that's worth $100, and the company's looked at all the shares they have, and they've decided we're going to pay out 4% of what the value of the stocks are, and your one stock's worth $100. They're doing 4%. It means you're going to get $4 for every share you own. That's essentially what it is. So that's going to be your dividend yield. The company can pay out either monthly, quarterly, semi-annually, annually, or just whenever they feel like it. So they may be paying out and then they stop. And even some companies that do pay out regularly may have some interruption in their dividend depending on what's going on with the company or what's going on just in general. For instance, COVID saw a lot of companies stop paying out dividends just because of the uncertainty. You might come across information that says there's different types of dividends, like dividends that pay cash, dividends that just pay out additional shares, and of course dividends that pay out in other ways. For my purposes, I'm going to focus mostly on dividends that are paying out cash, or the DRIP program, which is almost like paying out in shares, but we'll get into that a little bit later on. Essentially, you could see dividends in multiple different ways, but as far as you're going to run into it on this channel, it's going to be dividends, and we're going to be talking about the cash that they're paying out. Dividend strategies in themselves can be a strategy all on its own, right? So whatever dividend strategy you have, you could be doing dividends to just for general growth. You could be doing dividends for passive income, but you can also combine a dividend stock into other strategies. So for instance, you may decide that you're going to do swing trading with dividend stocks because you want to have the dividend, you're going to hold it for a longer period of time, but you want to capitalize on stocks that have gone down in value and buy them cheaper and then sell them when they're higher. And of course, the more you do that, the more you're going to get out of the gains that happen. So some stocks might have some fluctuation, but it might be over an entire year or maybe a 3 to 6 month period. Whereas someone who's a day trader is obviously going to be day trading on a daily basis, so you're not quite doing that level of it, but swing trading would allow you to take advantage of the ups and downs of a dividend stock while still collecting a dividend when it pays out. So you're going to come across this dividend aristocrats. So essentially those are the companies that have continued to pay out dividends over a long period of time, for instance 25 years, and over that period of time they've consistently raised their dividend. So companies that do that are really highly sought after because they're obviously able to increase the dollars coming in so they can pay out to the investors more often, or not more often, sorry, they can do it regularly, but they're going to continually increase the amount of dividend they're paying out. So somebody who's held that stock for 25 years where they might have only got 5% when they first bought the stock? Well, as long as they don't buy and sell that stock, they hang on to that stock, and it keeps going up in value, and the dividend amount keeps increasing. Now they're getting a higher percentage for the amount they bought that stock for. So we'll get into that in other videos, but essentially those types of companies where they pay out dividends over a long period of time and they keep increasing the amount of the dividend or the cash they're paying out, that's only going to benefit you more and more as you hold that stock for a longer period of time. And those are stocks that you are definitely going to want to look at getting into as time goes on. All right, so that's it for today, but definitely go ahead and leave comments below about whatever you're doing with dividends. I'd like to definitely hear about it. If there's things you want me to investigate or information that you don't know about dividends and you want me to maybe do a video about that, let me know as well. Go ahead and click subscribe and like. Please follow along on this series as I'm going to be talking everything dividends. And it might take a while to get to what you want, but I'm definitely going to be cruising through all the basic stuff with dividends and then diving deeper about how you can invest and probably talk a little bit about how I'm investing with dividends. And it's a little bit experimental, but nonetheless, you might be interested to see how that's working out or whether it's not working out or why it didn't work out. Just to see. And again, I'm not an advisor, so anything you hear in here is strictly more just out of entertainment purposes as opposed to actual advice. If you're needing advice, go see an advisor or see somebody who can help you with your investment decisions. All right, thanks for joining me today. Have a great day. We'll see you next time.